beautiful. Well, everyone, welcome to another edition of the Wandering Yuki Cheese Cafe. So, before I continue on, yeah, good idea. You can subscribe to the channel to get any updates on future content. That way you'll get a heads up whenever I'm doing another one of these videos. Whether it's a long episode for a new recipe, a home renovation, or just a quickie of me wandering the streets sharing my thoughts. Assuming I have coherent thoughts, sometimes it could be a bit of nothing at all, and then I'm like Seinfeld supposedly. It's like a show about nothing, right? Right? So, one hell of a weekend. I've actually tackled quite a bit of plumbing related work. A basement bathroom that's been out of commission for 8 years, or nearly 8 years, is finally functional again. And in case someone's going to be asking the question, what does a functional bathroom mean? Well, a bathroom that hasn't gone to shit, and then it's basically inoperable, not usable at all, and you can think of any other adjective to match with it. So that's one big episode that I'm going to be compiling very soon, and hopefully I'll be able to get it set up for the rest of the week, just to give you some viewing pleasure. And of course, it's Sunday, it's nice, and as I'm recording this, it's Father's Day, so I'm sure a lot of you are going to be with your dads, grandparents, or in-laws, just trying to celebrate and make them feel special. Well, in my case, doing a little drinking from afar. Some celebration, I suppose. Decided to go for a jumbo can of Old Milwaukee beer. It's supposed to be like some kind of American ale. But I feel like it's not brewed by Old Milwaukee, but I feel like it's brewed by Sleeman now. We're in the age of everybody buying up all the other companies and a whole lot of consolidation going on. What's up with that? You're eliminating competition. What am I talking about again? Well, moving back on. This explosive Milwaukee beer, well, this is another one that I remembered my dad used to drink when I was young. Some memories of this, I think Wildcat was one of them too, like your typical classic brews. Nothing too fancy like the day and age of microbreweries you get now. But hey, sometimes you gotta go basic and sometimes you gotta go classic and feel like you're an old man living in the old days, I guess. It's a lot of foam over here. Well, I'll try to sip on this as best as I can. So cheers. Yeah, there's a bit of fluid. It's mostly foam, so I'm going to have to let this ease up a bit. Yep. This is what I do best. I drink beer to pay tribute to my dad. Fun times. "24 years. Man, it feels like a lifetime ago." Well, I guess I shouldn't be dwelling too much on some things. I mean, it's a nice day, it's beautiful, I've got a lot done, and the fruit of my labor from the past is starting to pay off a little bit. Actually, I do have an idea. You remember when I was taking care of my garden a little while ago? Well, I'm sure some of you are curious how it's turning out. So tell you what, we're going to go take a little bit of a tour around the yard, show the progress I've made, and let's see how it's going. Oh, first, I'm kind of barefoot on my deck, so I should probably go get my shoes. I'm not going to walk barefoot in my garden. I'm not an idiot. I don't want to dirty myself. Not more so than usual, huh? One of the amazing things about plants, like I've said before, it's all it takes is a little bit of care, good soil, water, and plenty of sunshine, and this is the result. Now, if you remember my garden from the past, it was pretty small, but it's grown quite a bit. One of my best accomplishments this year is my herb garden here. Just having it put into the ground itself, you can see that the basil is actually getting pretty big. In fact, I should probably pick off some of the big leaves, because one of the tips is, if you have large leaves and some small leaves here, basil, you take the big ones for your cooking, and then the small ones will get all the other nutrients, and then they're going to grow big too. What I've been putting to use as well is all of my mint. Once again, this is Moroccan mint. Pretty strong flavor, but really good stuff. My After 8 mint, that I was actually pretty surprised about, in a good way, not in a bad way. And my chamomile plant. This thing has grown massively too, so I'm grateful for that. The dill isn't doing so well for some reason. I don't know what it was with the plant, but it just hasn't grown much. Hopefully, it's actually going to pick up pace over time, because I do want to make pickles. And ooh, The cilantro slash coriander, you know, it's all the same thing apparently. It's all the same stuff that people complain about on Tinder for reasons I'm not even going to get into. And my citronella, or like my lemon geranium. I'm hoping that this thing does its job to repel the mosquitoes from around here. It smells pretty nice though, so I'm grateful for that too. Jalapenos are starting to sprout quite a bit. Ooh, I even got a big one here. Soon enough, once it gets big enough, I'm gonna pull that so that the rest can get the rest of the nutrients and grow big too. 1 bell pepper's over here. Tomatoes are starting to flower as well. My cucumbers are nice, but the best surprise that I have now is my zucchini. I mean, see how easy it is to see, but look how massive this thing grew. It's only been like a little over a month, and look at it. It's huge, it's starting to flower. I'm pretty stoked to see how this is gonna work out. Beans are over here. Lettuce is starting to grow quite well too. Lettuce is like one of the things that I'm never worried about because it always grows. Okay, that's weird. Looks like some animal took a chomp at this thing, or somebody picked it and they never told me. Got to do some digging to find out what the heck happened. All this to say, pretty satisfying garden so far. Not bad stuff. And of course, I wouldn't be doing my garden justice if I didn't talk about one of my favorite plants over here. I'm gonna give the previous owners credit. If there's one thing they did really well, it was the gardening. There's a lot of nice stuff that's growing around the border, but there's one thing I love seeing, especially when it comes to mid-June and into July. That would be my clematis. This grows from the ground, and if you have any trellises, if you have any fences, this thing is gonna latch onto it and then grow all the way upwards. And then once it's ready to bloom, as you can see, this is the result of it. Nice purple flowers. Really beauty of a plant to see. Always one that I'm happy to look at. And just in case you're wondering too, how do I take care of it? Well, I trim the old branches in the spring because they're so dying. They're dying out and they're dead. And then they regrow and then relatch. So that's one way of not having so much dead leaves around. Pretty satisfying. But then of course, with some victories, there will be some failures that come along the way. And this backyard does have one that I'm not so happy about. Yep, that failure is my grass in back here. I've done some mini vlogs, probably on the YouTube channel from earlier, but if you remember, I was doing some reseeding in the front and in the back at the same time. But there was one key element that I had neglected on this side. While in the front I've been using a lot of soil and forest compost to plant it, here I really just dug it up, reseeded, and then it grew a little bit. This year's not growing as well, so that means I'm gonna have to redo this down the road. But there is another thing that's probably a pain in the ass. And if you've ever worked with lawns, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. It's crabgrass. No, people, don't assume that's the grass fooling around, spreading its seed, and then getting the disease along the way. The plant world does not work the same way as the human world. Crabgrass, it's like basically this stuff that you see. Looks like grass, but it's really like a weed. It's pretty invasive. Once it grows pretty aggressively, spreads its seeds, leaves it until next year, and then it's going to keep growing and growing. And the problem with that is that it's an annual too. So it's going to grow out really big, and then once it gets to around, I want to say like August, September, that's when it starts to die out. So you're going to be left with a lot of patches of dead grass here. So that's actually one of the downsides of trying to plant grass into spring, because you're trying to compete with this crabgrass that might be over here. This is kind of why fall is one of the best times to plant the lawn too. You seed it, it'll grow a little bit, but it's also going to grow really well. That way, it expands a lot, basically grows thick, so that the crabgrass is not going to have any room to grow whatsoever. Of course, if you're someone that, you know, is not opposed to using chemicals, there are these little additives called crabgrass inhibitors. You essentially just throw it into your dirt, and it will prevent the stuff from growing. It's a bit of work, but you know, with taking care of a yard, it comes with the territory. That's not to say it was a total failure, because let's actually take a look at that other piece of lawn that I planted up. And we are now in the front yard. So once again, this is what I seeded last year. And again, you're going to see a pretty big divide between the old and the new. Some parts over here, because it's starting to get dry, is starting to get a little bit yellow, at least I think. Oh, hang on, looks like it kind of recovered a little bit. But needless to say that when it's really dry, droughty, lack of rain, your grass is going to get yellow and crunchy. Except this patch over here. this is like a little over a month after I seeded this and kept taking care of it. So it's really basic stuff. You just need mulch, you know, leaves, branches, just something that can retain water, grass seeds, fertilizer, and especially a lot of water. On average, I was watering this stuff like maybe around, I think it was like twice a day. So you can really tell it resulted in a really good, healthy lawn. Grass takes a lot of water. It's a known fact. But when it works out like this, the payoff is really nice. And I did fertilize it before with the starter fertilizer to make sure it has good roots. And now I could just use the fertilizer for regular lawns to make sure that my grass, or at least my blades, keep growing well and nice and green. Hallelujah. So that's that. Yeah, a yard, a garden is definitely an intensive job to do to try to maintain it and make it look pretty. But if you enjoy it like I do, then it's always nice to see the final payoff, because you see the fruit of your labor, you see how well it's grown, you think, wow, I did all this myself. And it makes you want to earn your beer even more so. Delicious. And of course, I guess you're probably wondering, like, I did make a reference to plumbing and venting. Well, that's actually something I learned recently too. You would think that with your plumbing in your house, it's usually there just to drain water, drain, you know, anything else into the sewer. But apparently you do need to vent it. There needs to be air to be able to be sucked into there. So you're probably thinking to yourself, like, how exactly does that work? Well, I am kind of close to where that stuff is located, so I guess because I'm feeling generous and I want to try to get some good views and thumbs up, I'll give you a little demonstration too. My ladder's down there. The things I do for views. Such hard times. Okay, so I'm on top of my ladder and my camera is luckily on top of my table. It seems to fit pretty well. Gotta love when things play out pretty nicely. So I'm sure that the number of you will be looking at your roof and may not be aware of everything that's going to be up there. Well, if you remember my attic video from a past, I did mention that the square thing over there is for rooftop ventilation from your attic. Basically a way to make sure that any moisture that builds up in there is able to vent out from there through the air that pushes from the soffit underneath your roof. But the other thing you might see is this pipe. This is your plumbing stack for venting. So let's look at it this way. If you have a house that's unfinished or you have an area that's exposed, you might see a vertical piece of plumbing, like maybe 3 inches in diameter, that's going all the way upwards vertically. That is for this. So air that's going to be in there is venting out of here, but then when you're using a fixture, it's going to pull air from the vent up here through the rest of your plumbing into the sewer. Sounds a bit complicated, right? Well, I think it'll be easier if I give you a little diagram. So yeah, I'm thinking a little visual is probably going to be an easier way to talk to you about the venting and the plumbing. And if you're looking closely, you probably see some script for the Bulgogi vlog I did a while back. Don't mind me. So, for the uninitiated, this, let me see, this gives you an idea of what's going on underneath your house. So this is a 4-inch diameter pipe that goes underneath the concrete and connects directly to the sewer here. So from then it's converted to a 3-inch pipe that continues upwards. Like I said, if you saw that pipe in your basement, then you know that's the location of your plumbing stack. It's there for a reason, so don't mess around with it. So that pipe goes all the way up to the roof. So here's exactly what happens. The plumbing is connected to the sewers, so any sewer gases that are in there, and first let me just clarify, sewer gases are exactly what you think they are. Basically anything that you flush down the toilet, rinse down a drain, it all ends up over there. It's all gonna decompose, it's gonna get all get all gross, but because it's connected to the plumbing, it's gonna go right in and flow through the piping in the house, and it's gonna be venting all the way up to the roof. You don't want to have that entering your house though, because that stuff, basically it smells like rancid rotten eggs, and it's kind of bad for your health if you have it too long, so keep that in mind. So I'm sure you're asking the next question, like, if that gas is in the piping, how is it not coming out of your house? Well, this is actually a trick that the plumbing works with. So if you look in your toilet, it's always filled with water, so that's fine. But you're going to look underneath your shower, underneath your bathtub, underneath your sink, is going to be this little do-rag over here. This is called a pea trap. Because I guess from a certain angle it kind of looks like a pea. But here's the way that this thing works. You run water through there that's going to flow. So like maybe from here to here, after the water is done flowing, it's designed this way so I can retain water like up to this point. So this acts as an air seal that is not going to let air get in through the sink, get in through the toilet, get in through the bathtub. So that's what prevents the gas from flowing in. Now the other important part of your venting too is you're going to have a lot of sewer gas in here, and it's going to be flowing like that unless you run a fixture. So what happens is, when let's say you're running a sink, the water's going to go down here, all the gas that's going to be here is being pushed forward, downwards, and out into the sewer. So what that means is that on the back side of it, there is going to be a vacuum created. So it needs to find something else to be able to fill in that vacuum again. That's where the rooftop plumbing comes into place. So when that water flows, pushes that sewer gas out, it's going to take air from the stack, pull it downwards, just like that, and then it'll fill it up. You're going to be fine, and you won't have any drain issues. Now, my issue that I had is that my bathroom, I want to say that when they converted the bedroom into the bathroom, they didn't even vent the thing at all. And my understanding about plumbing codes is that anything that's more than 3 feet away from your main plumbing stack, you have to add additional venting into that. So what that would mean is that if you're going to be doing it from scratch, you would probably need to, well, assuming you're doing it from scratch, your walls are going to be ripped out in the first place. So what they would do is they'd rip out the walls, add some piping to go up to the roof, or perhaps through your attic into the main stack, just as long as it's all connected. If it's not, that's going to cause you a couple of problems. Like what may happen is you're going to have some drainage issues, like it's not going to be flowing properly, or because there's that back end pressure from when the water is flowing, that means it needs to look for air somewhere. That means that if you have a toilet that's flushed, it could pull it from the drain in the sink, it could pull it from the bathtub, it could pull it from the shower, or like your washing machine, if there's too much water close to the toilet, it could actually pull water out of the toilet, so that's going to be causing issues. So what I did for mine, because I didn't want to rip out the walls, is I took a piece of this stuff, 1.5 inch ABS piping, and yes, this is a very standard size. Under sinks, under showers, it's going to be 1.5 or 2 inches of diameter. So I cut this, and I installed what's called a little mechanical vent or discharge valve. Oh, okay, my editor's assigned to superimpose that image over my face, but essentially what it does is that it's a little mechanical vent that keeps closed, that when water flows, there's a trapdoor that pulls open, and it's going to pull fresh air from the house, but it's never going to open up and then let sewer gas come in. So that's a little cheat that you can do. The beauty is that you can install it under your sink or wherever else you need it, and that's going to get the job done too. So it'll get rid of a gurgling sink, it's going to get rid of any noises from when you flush, and there you go. And yeah, this thing, if you have the right cutters, it cuts like butter. Yep, pretty easy to do, and if you're comfortable with plumbing, pretty basic to finish off. Whew. Okay, that was a mouthful to talk about plumbing. Hope I didn't bore everybody, but I hope I had some people who were actually better informed now and enjoyed this. So there you go. This is what I've done so far. And on that note, maybe I should get my supper started soon too. And no, I'm not doing any fancy cooking. I've already had my fancy baguette and a whole bunch of other stuff. We shall see. There we are. Supper time already. So, just in case I didn't reiterate, I'm not doing a fancy meal for myself this week. I'm actually going kind of ghetto right now. Something I haven't had in a little while are all beef hot dogs with some toasty buns and a good amount of mustard and ketchup. Some of my grilled zucchini and eggplant that I enjoy doing from time to time. And potato chips. I don't have any fries on me. I'm all out of potatoes, so I thought it's the next best thing. Man, I'm telling you, having chips for a meal is like I'm at some kid's birthday party, like when I was 10 years old. Having chips with a meal is so weird. Yeah. And the hot dogs is like, I know what you're thinking, like, this is not my usual forte, but a pack of 12 buns was given to our house just because there was like extra around, so we thought, okay, I'm gonna go get some wieners. I bought them at Costco, and I know I say I get a lot of stuff at Costco, but this is more for mathematical reasons. Because here's the thing, have you noticed nowadays that you're still gonna get your buns in a pack of 12, but if you're to go get your pack of hot dogs at the grocery store, they always give it in pack of 10s? Like, what the fuck is all that about? Like, what's the point of giving 10 wieners if you're only going to have 2 buns left over as a remainder and just kept aside, possibly grow mold and end up feeding to birds, squirrels, or whoever's going to eat that shit? Like, seriously, who came up with the idea? What's the point? Why charge the same amount of 12 wieners from the past for 10 now? It's like giving you less bang for your buck. Bunch of assholes. I swear, people are trying to get rich off everything. Okay, I kind of went on a sidetrack rant right now. All this over hot dogs. Let me just give a bite to this. Tasty and juicy, and I like the all beef ones because they have a lot of flavor, but once again, everyone's going to say that if you're to look at what really goes into hot dogs, it's nasty stuff. But hey, once in a while, you gotta go cheap. Not right now for me. I've had my ghetto ration, so to accompany this... Oh, what am I doing? There, good musical cue. My final can of the legendary bear juice. Or Bummy-Ad IPAs is not best, in case you wanted me to talk normally and not in my dumb terminology. So there we go. This is what I've been doing all weekend and doing all Sunday. So this has been a Father's Day, garden, plumbing, and a simple edition of the Wanderyuki Cheese Cafe. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoy what you see, oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, much better. So, hit that subscribe button below and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed my shenanigans. And above all else, share this with anyone you think will enjoy it, because, hey, I'm not being paid to do this, am I? What am I saying? Cheers, everyone.